All right, we are live. Hey everyone, you are watching the first crowdcast of the Grace and Grit series, and we are so lucky to have Lauren Purnell here with us today. She is the brains and the beauty behind Inspi and Purnell Beauty Boutique. Today, Lauren's going to be talking about how she's navigated change in her career and life to flow into the position she is in now. So welcome, Lauren. I'm so excited to have you here. Lauren is a really good friend of mine and super pumped to share her story. I can't even wait. How are you?
I'm great. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so good. All right, so let's dive in. You know I have a ton of questions. You know I want to hear everything about your story so that we can share it. But first, talk to me about how you got inspired to create Inspi, or even tell me a little bit about it, and then how that kind of navigated you into the beauty boutique.
Okay, so first, Inspi is INSPY, and it's short for inspiration. It came about just through boredom. I was actually working at a high school, a night school high school at the time, and it was summertime. So we didn't really have anything to do during the day, and I discovered Tumblr. And a lot of my friends hadn't. They were either a little bit too old for it or they just hadn't been put on yet. So I was finding all kinds of amazing pictures and quotes and sayings. And what I ended up doing was emailing them I would email them when I found them. And then I realized that I was emailing them a little bit too frequently. So I started saving them in a folder and I started just sending them out in the morning. So the email list started with probably like the regular 7 people that I email every day, and then it's now grown to about 250 people every day. And it just continues to grow. And whenever anybody wants to add their friends or family, and occasionally when people just come to the site, and there are a lot of people on the email who I have not met before. Mm-hmm. And it's just a whole bunch of different pictures and quotes, GIFs, like to inspire authenticity in whatever you do and just let people kind of be exposed to things that they may not be.
I love that. So I'm constantly getting these emails, and like I told you before, this email is one of the only ones that I read in the morning. I'm very, very selective of the emails that I read in the morning. And I'm always finding these images that kind of stretch my brain or make me think differently. So how do you choose them? What is making you choose those images? What catches your eye?
It's really, it all started to, I continued to do it after I started because people were telling me that it was really great to get them in the morning. And I felt like they were things that I would want to see, that would help me to get out of bed in the morning and just make me look at the world differently and realize that it's not about the mundane, that every single day is going to be different. And everything that I choose, at one point, they just speak to me and I'm just like, oh yeah, this is something I would love to see. And I save it. And I really started to, I had to actually let go of worrying about if it would be okay for everybody, because as the list grew, I would sometimes be like, oh, so-and-so's on here. I hope they don't get offended. Or somebody else is on here. Will they like it? And then I was like, I can't please everybody. So they either will or they won't. They might get it, they might not. But whomever is supposed to get it that day or be inspired by it will be.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So just to repeat that, you can't please everyone, and someone will be inspired by it that day. It doesn't have to be everyone. Something that I think a lot of people battle with on social media and newsletters and everything else. So I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, so how did you take Inspi and turn it into the products that you're creating today? Like, what was the transition? How did you get there? What made you make that happen?
Okay, so I guess growing up, I moved around a lot, and I never really felt like I belonged. I also come from a mixed heritage background, Black and Italian, so there's not that many of us, well, that I grew up around or saw on TV or anything like that. So it was really a thing where I had to kind of create my own lane in a lot of ways. So I guess when I wasn't feeling like I fit in, I misconstrued a sense of belonging and just kind of was very influenced by like the media and things that going on like that a young girl can be. And I somehow came up with the idea in my head that number one, I didn't belong, and number two, that I wasn't good enough. Like my appearance wasn't good enough. For whom I really don't know, but I really struggled with body image issues for a really long time. That went back to, you know, being like 16 years old and just going through like eating disorders and things like that. And as I like progressed and like healed myself, I actually discovered the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I attended that after I had been in the workforce for a few years outside of college, or actually maybe like a year outside of college. And a lot of it is like everybody can have a different diet, and just saying that there's no, again, one way to do everything. So I took that and like combined it with my love of any type of beauty product, anything that smells good or like makes you feel wonderful on the outside. I said, like, if we're so concerned about what we're putting in our bodies, we should be also concerned about what we're rubbing on our skin. And it's an organ too. Anything that you put on your skin is absorbed into actually every cell and tissue in your body within 26 seconds. So I felt like if we're going to be so conscious of what we're putting in our mouths, we should be very conscious of what we're putting on ourselves. And I just, I also struggled with acne for a really long time, even into like my early 20s. And I just decided to take matters into my own hands. I started creating my own products from the information I had learned at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And I have a lot of nosy friends, and they are always wanting to know what I'm doing and what I'm putting on my face and what I smell like and why do I look like this. So it just evolved from there. And then, you know, people are like, oh, this is actually really good and this is great. So I started offering it again, just to people who would ask me for it and said that they would enjoy it.
So you tend to take matters into your own hands a lot, whether that's to inspire yourself on a day-to-day or to create products that really work for your unique self. You're constantly just evolving and solving the needs that you have, which then influences and inspires a ton of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's just me taking what I wish existed and creating it.
So then I know that you have a full-time job and you have InSpi and you have the products, and I mean, you clearly have a passion for what you're doing. Now, there's a lot of people who go through this, right? Where we have the problem and we solve it and we want to do that full time, but we have to do some transitioning there. And I know this is something that you've really worked on over time. And with your passion of these things, how do you prioritize and how do you manage everything? How do you keep it all going forward?
Oh, I feel like I'm always doing something. Whether just first, I don't feel like nobody is the same when they're doing, you know, their business. And I think that what was happening is I would look for mentors and I would find people who were doing things that I wanted to do. And then I would talk to them about how they did things in like their practice. And then I would kind of realize like, hey, they're just figuring it out just like me. So there's no right or wrong way, again, to do these things. So I could be hanging out with my friends and I know that I need to make sure I draft InSpi. So I'll take my iPad and like look for pictures and do everything while I'm hanging out. And I'm just really a big fan of multitasking. And I don't think there's ever a time I'm not doing something, like, but it doesn't ever feel like a chore because they're actually things I really enjoy. So I've just taken everything that I'm into and passionate about, and then they're just part of my day every single day.
I love what you said about there are so many people out there doing similar things, or you're trying to find a mentor. And I think so often we get caught up in the how-tos and the how to be most successful and the 10 steps to managing your day, right? But I love what you said about we're all different and that there's really no way to do it and everyone's just figuring it out day by day. And we have to remember that.
Yeah.
I think that plays along with your uniqueness and the way that you solve problems anyway.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very unique process. Never the same, never the same.
Yeah, you just always take control and make sure you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right. So the big thing that I wanted to ask you, and maybe there's two big things, I'm sure I have others, but what is the one thing that you would have told your younger self?
Oh, that I still tell myself, and I'm really just starting to figure it out, like that you belong. That no matter where you go, you are supposed to be there. It doesn't matter. Like whether it was school, I dropped out of college because I didn't feel comfortable, and there were just so many opportunities and things that I feel like I deprived myself of because for some reason I just felt like somebody was going to figure me out, like, oh, she's not supposed to be here or something like that. And now I'm like, girl, you are wherever you want to go, honey, you are there, and nobody else is going to, and then once you realize that, like, and you prepare yourself for someone to like call you out, or you just realize, like, again, everybody is just a person, and we're all here just wanting to be validated and I guess just loved in general.
Hmm. When was what was that pivotal moment when you realized that you were depriving yourself of those moments before?
I had to get to the point where I'm not really a big partier or a clubber. So my friends would always, like, why don't you ever want to go out? I was the one who would be out like downtown in the meatpacking district, and then I would ask my friend for her car keys so I could just go and chill in the car until they were ready to go. Like, I just didn't want to be there. And I always thought, like, oh, it's because I'm antisocial or something like that. And then I said, well, actually, it stemmed from, I really had to do a lot of soul searching to figure out what the issue was. And then I realized that I had this sense that for some reason I didn't belong places. And then once I accepted that and started to constantly just tell myself that you do, like, prove myself wrong, I guess. I think a lot of times we have a lot of perceptions, judgments, and beliefs about our own life that we got somewhere along the way, and they really don't pertain to anything that we do now. So you have to really let those go. And, just by being able to clear my mind and like meditation, I was kind of just like, honey, you got to grow up. You can go wherever you want, and being very aware of my surroundings. So I would look and to see when I would go places where I didn't feel I belonged, and I would look around and I would say, look at all the diversity here. Look at all the people who are here. Why don't you belong? And I would really challenge myself until I couldn't give myself an answer. And then I just started forcing myself to be more comfortable, but also accepting the fact that I still really don't like to go out clubbing and doing all that, that's okay to be that as well.
I've heard it's funny you say all of that, and it's really interesting because I've had a lot of conversations about that lately with friends. And particularly people who are kind of coming into their own and finding their own, we're calling it the self core, right? That inner person, inner soul, whatever you want to call it. And they're having a hard time getting to that place. I know I did for a little bit, being comfortable with that and feeling okay to just be that person and just be who we are and not have to worry about the expectations and the perceptions of others. So is your advice to them, you belong? Or what would be the thing that you tell them?
I would tell them to focus on the positive, not only about the situation, but of themselves. Because I think a lot of times we are consumed by the feelings of insecurity and our expectations of ourselves. And we get really wrapped up into all the things that we're not, as opposed to really just looking at all the things that we are and just embracing those and realizing, like, you really, really are contributing. You belong. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. And you can go anywhere and do anything. And just to really focus on the positive aspects of yourself, because if you embrace yourself, the world has no choice but to do the same.
Oh, if you embrace yourself, the world has no choice but to do the same. You should have that. You should make a quote out of that and put it on Inspi.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. All right, so we're going to flip the script then a little bit on that question.
Okay.
So if you're 50 years from now, or your 50-year-old self, doesn't matter, whichever you want, what do you think your advice will be to your current self?
To my current self, when I'm 50, I think I will tell myself that, I'm trying to phrase it correctly, I guess. I just want to say, like, girl, you never thought it would be this big, did you? Like, I want to be, like, I want to look back, and you had no idea what you were doing. And look at this shit now. If I can, sorry, pardon my French. But,
oh my gosh, no,
okay.
you're fine, you're fine. We're
Look
clear.
at this now, and I really, really do believe that that some big things are coming down the line.
Oh, you know I believe that about you. I tell you that all the time. You're the future woman. Yes. I love that. Yes, beautiful. Okay, cool. And now you've said it, so now you get to look back and on this video and be able to hear yourself say that.
Yeah, we'll be trying to find something to play this on. Like, can we?
Oh my gosh,
somebody convert it?
It'll be on our arms or something. We'll be watching it from there. Cool. All right. So, how about this one? What has been your biggest lesson in following your passions?
Okay. Ooh, that's a spicy question. Oh, okay. Actually, a really great friend of mine said this to me the other day, and as I was trying to justify taking a couple of my projects in a new direction. And she said, you don't have to explain yourself to me. This is what you want to do. This is it's constantly evolving. So I just feel like it's all about just, again, staying true to you. And the more you learn, the more that will be revealed to you. So there is no, like, what I think that is going to happen in the next few months could happen or it could not, and I could be doing something totally different, but I don't need to feel bad about changing my direction, because inspiration and creativity, and again, just being authentic and really like listening to your, whether you want to call it your higher self or your inner self, but just really listening to that voice and not being afraid to pursue what comes about.
And this is why I love you, because every time we talk, it's like you're speaking directly to me. And I think so often as creative people and as people who are trying to follow passion, it's very easy to have to shift and to sway and to flow into whatever it's supposed to be or what is becoming. And you have been one of those sources of inspiration for me. I mean, I'll call you up and say, I'm having a really hard time with X. And you'll be like, girl, give it time. And I'm telling you, a week later, I always get the answer, and I always know what that shift is supposed to be, or if I need to stay focused and centered on something else. So how do you know? How do you know that those things are going to fall into place? And then when they do fall into place, how do you pivot? Because a lot of people are just focused in and stay in one direction forever and ever, or for a long time, and don't have as easy of a time pivoting. So how do you do that? And then you know, when you know, how do you actually execute on that?
Well, this is okay. So every morning that I wake up, I'm really, really into just energy and like the law of attraction and everything like that. So every day when I wake up, I just try to think of my intentions for the day. And most of the time it is for miracles. And I always set the intention for miracles to happen. And I cannot tell you how many cool, like magical things happen to me every single day. And I really, really, that's how I know that it's always going to fall into place. And there are so many ways that I guess my mind or my ego cannot just determine. And that when you're on this co-creating like soul path, it always falls into place. And it's about, I wouldn't even say it's a process. It's not even trusting a process. It's like, set the intentions, believe in the magic that can happen, and let it flow. And as it continues to happen, it will prove itself to you time and time again. And you'll just kind of be like, wow, I could have never come up with this myself. I have no idea how this happened, but I love it. And it just brings me so much joy every single day. So I really believe that miracles happen every day. And even when I don't set the intention, but that's what life is about.
Yeah. And I like how you specifically, you pair, I think something we often forget is you pair the miracles and the amazing, exciting things that happen with doing the work. And so day in and day out, you're doing the big work that you need to be doing in order to make these things happen. And that's, it goes back to that question about how do you do it all? How do you get it all in? And you just do it. You find a way to make it happen, but then you also let those miracles in to kind of guide you along the way.
And if I could add one other thing to that.
Oh yeah, please.
I think sometimes when we grasp things way too tightly, there's no room for anything to flow in, for ideas to flow in, for money, for whatever kind of abundance you're looking for. So if you're holding on to something, some idea that you have of how it's supposed to go so tightly, the magic doesn't have room to come in. So I guess all I really focus on is the what, and then the how just comes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You let that kind of come to life.
Crazy odd ways too. And sometimes people are like, tell me your weirdest story. And I'm like, but nothing seems weird to me anymore. So I really can't pinpoint anything.
Oh God, that's amazing. Okay. So now as we're wrapping up then, what's next? What is the what that you're working on, and what do you have in mind right now? What do you want to share?
My ultimate goal is to get paid healthily for just being myself. So if I, whether that's an inspi book, which I'm currently working on, or if that is a documentary that I want to get a team together to make, because I feel like this subculture needs to be explored and exposed. Anything, I guess I'm just really I'm continuously putting my content out there and just knowing, and then I'm watching it grow. So I'm not quite sure what it's going to evolve into aside from a household name, but I definitely know that eventually I'm going to be able to just celebrate it and paid for just giving the world my authentic self every day.
Beautiful. I love that. So where can people follow you to make sure that they know when you grow and make all these things happen?
Okay, so there are a few places. My personal Instagram is ELZILLA, that's Elzilla. And then you have Inspi is IN5PY. That's at Instagram. And it's also the same at Twitter. And you can also go to in5py.com to just check out the content, check out old emails that have been sent, and feel free to also email me, laurenspurnell@gmail.com, if you have any questions, or just if you want to be friends, we can be friends, So yeah.
I'm telling you, people who are watching, you want to be friends with Lauren. Be sure to get in now, because when she goes big, she's not going to have time. Maybe a little bit of time, but not a lot of time. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up for now. And thank you so much for sharing your story, Lauren. I really appreciate it and love the beauty and the authenticity that you bring to this world. And I couldn't be happier and more grateful to know you. So thank you so, so much.
Well, likewise. And I just think what you're doing and following your passion, I'm so glad we were connected, and I feel like I've known you for so long. This is just such an amazing opportunity to have been interviewed by you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Well, we will see you later. We'll have more of these to come.
All right.